Welcome to the AxeCast podcast. Conversations with interesting people from the world of Acadia athletics and more, talking about their lives, successes, and failures. And now let's join hosts Glenn Hawley and Eric Cederberg for the next 15 to 20 minutes as they dive into the life of today's guest.
This week on the AxeCast, we have two former hockey Axemen from the class of 16, Mike Cazzola, and from the class of 19, Remy Giftopoulos, who are both living in Italy these days, playing professional hockey. Guys, thanks for doing this.
Not a problem. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You know what? We'll start with the veteran guy, Kaz. Take us back a number of years ago after playing Major Junior in Ontario, and you played with I think it was Erie, and then rounded out your junior career in Ottawa. How did you make the decision to come to Acadia?
For me, it was. I believe it or not, I was actually really close of going and committing to the University of Guelph, but a few phone calls later with Burnsy convinced me to come out on a recruiting trip, and I'm sure you haven't. I'm sure people have said this many times before, but that recruiting trip was pretty impactful on my decision. Just being out in the valley. I know summers are pretty quiet, but I think he took me to the Port Pub one night. And you saw how close the community was, and kind of reminded me of my hometown, just how small and well knit it was. So, and then at the same time, it helps when I knew someone coming there. I knew Brett Thompson was going to commit there, so it's nice to go somewhere where you know someone.
There was a rumor at the time when you guys were being recruited that if one was coming, the other would come. Is there any truth to that?
I think Brett did his recruiting trip a week or two before me, and he called me while he was on his recruiting trip, and he said he's coming no matter what. So I think he was coming regardless, but it made the decision that much easier knowing he was going there.
It's interesting. In the first couple of years, I think you guys were sort of trying to figure out your identity. St. Mary's was pretty tough. They had a great goaltender. Then the playoffs, you guys sort of figured it all out, and Liam Helis obviously was a big factor in that with you guys and the line. And just talk about that chemistry and how it turned around. You guys were successful, obviously, winning a conference championship in 2014.
Yeah, I think our line, I think we had a lot of good guys, a lot of good players on that team. I think, a line that goes under the radar was Joe Gaynor, Dylan Anderson, and who was it? Dustin Axemen. I think we had a group of guys, and everyone kind of bought into what we wanted to accomplish. And obviously me, Liam, and Brett, we clicked right off the bat in that season. But you can't win hockey games with one line. We had four lines that played well, and we had two good goalies that helped.
Remy, you arrived at Acadia 3 years later. Just talk a little bit about your experience, and you played again in the Ontario Hockey League, and I think it was with Ottawa, and then rounding it out with the Windsor Spitfires. What made you decide Acadia was the place?
Yeah, I think pretty similar to what Mike said. I was making a decision after my last season in Windsor, and I had spoken to a couple different schools, and I think what got me was when I came on the recruiting trip as well. I met all the guys. I got to learn a little bit about the community, and I just really fell in love with the place right there. I just felt like I was at home, and it was a pretty easy decision for me after I came on that trip.
Remy, it's easy for me to sit here and ask all kinds of hockey questions and what you remember and things like that, but the university experience, is far beyond what goes on between the boards. And when you reflect back at your time at Acadia, what are the things that that you look at and remember fondly?
I think for myself, I think it was just the relationships that I built while I was there, the friendships, all the different guys like Mike and Brett, and countless other guys that I played with over my time, as well as the academic experience. I think before I came to Acadia, I hadn't been studying for, I think it was 3 or 4 years. So it definitely took a little bit of time to get back into the swing of the academics, but it was such a great decision for me. I think it helped me grow as a person, made me more well-rounded, and just those years and that time spent at Acadia so special to me. So nothing but good things to say.
I mean, obviously, you guys are passionate about playing hockey, and oftentimes when guys are being recruited at a major junior, sometimes they might be considering playing, semi-pro versus going the university route. Now that you've done that, if you're talking to a kid that's 19, 20, 21 and thinking about his future, Kaz, what are you going to say to the kid? Is this the route to go? Is this the right route?
I think definitely, especially now, the CIS in general as a whole is getting way more respect, and I think it deserves that respect. You're seeing guys coming out, finishing their fourth year of school, and they're making the jump to some guys are making the jump to the American League. A lot of guys are jumping to the East Coast Hockey League, and then there's guys jumping over to Europe. So, I think, like Remy said, being away from school for 3-4 years, it's pretty challenging, but it'd be even more difficult if you go play pro for 5 or 6 years. So what I would say to young kids coming out, obviously they think it's a step back coming and going to school rather than going to play pro hockey. But, you can go to school, play 3-4 years, you develop yourself a little bit more, you get an education, and then, there's still tons of time to play pro hockey. I've been out of school for 4 years now, and I've been playing hockey still. So there's tons of time left to play hockey, but there's life after hockey, and you need to take care of your education. I think that's really important.
I always talk about when guys arrive from junior, the adjustment, not just to playing at the level because you're playing against older guys, but it's adjusting to being in class and your studies and everything else that you do. And Remy, I must think that after Acadia and you go play pro hockey, you must feel like this weight is off your shoulders because you practice, you play, train, and what have you, but you don't have to worry about going to class right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, finishing my school when I did was definitely a very good feeling, and I had these thoughts when I finished my junior career. I knew that I wanted to try to play professional hockey, but it was just a matter of when. And I think at that time, the best decision for myself as a person was to go to school and to go to Acadia and continue to play hockey. And that's what I did. But you're right. Since I've graduated, it's definitely been a change. Just being a full-time hockey player is a lot different than being in school. Your priorities change quite a bit. So it's been a very good experience for myself so far.
It's interesting to see the journey after Acadia. So for you, Mike, you actually went to the East Coast League and you actually played 3 American Hockey League games, and then you go overseas. I think it was in England for 2 or 3 years, and now in Italy. Just talk about that whole journey, and because on the surface you look at it and go, my goodness, this guy is just like zigzagging. But at the same time, you're getting a chance to experience life, whether it's in the U.S. or Europe. Just talk about your journey since you left Acadia.
Yeah, so obviously I knew I wanted to pursue my education. I wanted to do physiotherapy, and it didn't work out in Ontario. So I went and played in the East Coast Hockey League for a year and volunteered at a physiotherapy clinic there. I found out I got into physiotherapy school in Scotland while I was up in the American League. So I knew the next year, even though I had a good season, I knew I'd be going over to Scotland and playing professional hockey and doing my master's over in Scotland. So, once I finished my education, I finished it November last year, finished out the season, and then I was thinking that I'd be kind of ready to move into the working world, but with the pandemic going on, exams got canceled, and it actually allowed me to play one more season over here in Italy. And I figured, Remy reached out to me in the summer, and I had to study for an exam, and I was able to do it online. So kind of it was a no-brainer for me to get to go travel back to Italy and play hockey for 1 or 2 more seasons. We'll have to see.
Okay, you got to tell me about playing hockey in Scotland. Like, do the fans sit there with kilts on? What's the chirping like?
It's honestly very similar to like a soccer game. Like they're chanting nonstop from the even before the puck starts or pucks drop till the end. And if you win, then the party continues for them. So they're always a rowdy crowd, no matter where you go. And it was a lot of fun. It was a good experience for me.
Do they get good turnouts there, Kaz, in Scotland?
Yeah, the fans are loyal. Like our rink wasn't the biggest, but I'm just trying to think. Like Sheffield, the big teams, they can get close to 10,000 fans there, and it's gets pretty crazy sometimes.
And Remy, what's it like in Italy in terms of the hockey and the following there?
Yeah, I think the following has been a little bit different these last 2 years. Obviously, with the impacts of COVID, we aren't allowed to have any fans in the arena. But last year, I played for the same team here in Cortina, and there are quite a few fans, in different spots of the league, and it's a really honestly like one of the best places that I could imagine playing in terms of the hockey and also the life experience side of things. Getting to travel to Austria, to Slovenia, and just getting to play against all these different towns is pretty unique. And as for, I also spent time, my first year professional, I played in Denmark. I actually played with Brett Thompson as well. He kind of helped me out to be able to go to that team my first year. The team was just outside of Copenhagen, and that was a totally separate cultural experience for me. And yeah, it's been a really fun ride so far these last 3 seasons.
You're in Italy now. Your experience so far in Europe and hockey, the level of hockey. I'm curious, what experience has it been so far? The level of hockey, compared to playing university, or is it another step up?
Yeah, I think the AUS is a very good league. I think that sometimes people don't understand how high the level of competition really is. I mean, going to Europe, it definitely was a step up. Many guys are full-time pros, and that's their only focus. But it was probably a small step up. But to be honest with you, the AUS is a very, very good league. So I think it definitely prepared me to play against the competition that I'm playing against now in Europe.
When the pandemic broke last year around March, I mean, within the first couple of months, Italy was really hard hit. Were you there at that time? And what was it like?
Yeah, it was quite the experience to be honest with you. So in February we heard rumblings, obviously, of potential lockdown. Numbers of cases were going up in the country. And then by the beginning of March, the country had decided to go on national lockdown, which inevitably canceled our season and our playoffs. So at that point, I think at the time no one really knew as much as we do now about the virus. Couldn't rationalize it at the time. So it was pretty scary trying to get out. We had our flights booked, and luckily the team here was able to help us out with getting to the airport and all of that. But it was quite the experience. I mean, the whole country was on lockdown. We had to have paperwork in order to get through different checkpoints from town to town because they were being surveyed by military and police. So it was a pretty scary experience, to be honest with you. I'd never been so happy to be back on Canadian soil.
Mike, you raised something interesting earlier. You're talking about playing pro hockey, and you said, you're playing with, full-time pro hockey players, wherever you go, whether it's East Coast League or Europe. And it must be a little bit of a different dynamic. So you think about major junior, most guys are 16 to 19, you're in that same age range. Same with university, you're 21 to 25. Now all of a sudden you're playing pro hockey. You might be sitting against a guy who's, 10 years older than you and has 2 or 3 kids at home. What's that dynamic like?
Well, it's different for sure. Like, I recall when I played in Fort Wayne in the East Coast League, my stallmate was Jamie Shaftsma. I think he was 35 years old. He had 3 kids. He had 1 more on the go. But I think, no matter what age you are, you share the same passion for the love of hockey. And everyone that plays hockey, I've never met a bad guy that I've played with. So obviously different. You finish practice, you kind of go home and relax, and they're going home to take care of their kids. So things are different, but no, it was fun. I'd go over, I'd help out, go play, whether it was playing mini sticks with the kids with them, but definitely a different experience, but it was fun. You just you make the most of every situation.
Now this conversation was kind of triggered by something that I had seen, and most of us in Canada, following our hockey team, had seen that you both were hopefully still are tearing up the league. I think we saw you in the top. I think Mike, you're leading in points, and Remy very close behind. I guess the question is, are you still doing that now? And you on the same line?
I think we usually we're on the ice all the time together. Well, whether it's 5-on-5 power play or penalty kill, we tend to play together. And I think at the start of the year, it kind of took 2 or 3 games before we figured out where we were going to be on the ice. But no, we so far we've been playing well together, and I think we only have seven games left here before playoffs. So hopefully we can continue strong.
I take obviously this year has been sort of a write-up, but you have a chance to sort of follow what's going on at Acadia and with the Axemen hockey program.
Yeah, I think we both kind of, we follow whether it's on social media or whatnot, but I don't think I've played. I think now all the guys I've played with have kind of been shuffled out or have graduated, but Acadia for both of us has been very impactful. So we always tend to follow. And even when I was in Scotland, when the guys were going to nationals, I'd be watching online.
So here's the thing: in 20 years, when you're still following the Axemen program, Alco will still be behind the bench.
I definitely believe it.
I'm sure he will be.
Eric, you usually round this out with a few quick fire questions.
And now it's time for Eric's Cut to the Chase 5 questions.
I do usually, yeah. I mean, the one question I've been asking as of late, because I'm always curious to know, every team is a little bit different when they're on road trips. Sometimes coach assigns you to who you're rooming up with. I guess the question I have for both you guys, this question I've asked a couple of times now, is who's your favorite roommate on road trips over the years at Acadia? So I'll ask Mike first.
It won't be a shock to you guys, but I think my road roommate was Brett Thompson all the time. So we were together on and off the ice all the time. So he was definitely my favorite road roommate.
Yeah, I figured that one. That was an easy answer. How about you, Remy?
I think my favorite roommate was our good old friend Robert Steves. He was my roommate quite a few times over the years, and one funny story actually. We were about to play. I think it was the semifinal game at the University Cup. We were playing against UNB, and for whatever reason in the morning, our phone's alarm went off at maybe 6:30 in the morning, and I just woke up like full of anger, I guess. I walked right over to the phone. I threw it off the table against the wall and woke Robert up. And he's like, "What? Like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "We got a big game today. We got to sleep." And I just, woken up in a frenzy, I guess. And I think he definitely remembers that one fondly.
How did Gardner get your phone number?
Oh, who knows? That could have been it.
I guess the last one I have is what's the most embarrassed you've ever been in, whether it's at Acadia or whether it's in life? What's the most embarrassing situation that's happened to either of you guys?
You want to take that one first?
Think here.
I know, that's tough. Most embarrassing situation.
They probably don't want to tell us.
No, that's true too. Yeah,
I have
okay.
a lot of stories, but one that I remember, but I think it was my second year university. I'm going into class, first week of classes, and for some reason I saw Colin Archer, so I thought he was in my class. So I sit front row with him, Probably about 10 minutes into class, I realized I'm in the wrong class. I'm in kid. So I wait about 20 minutes into class, and my class is on at the same time. I have to get up in front of everyone and walk out. And sure enough, as I'm walking out, the professor asks me what I'm doing, and I had to tell him I was in the wrong class. He said, "Why did you wait till now?" And I just said I didn't know what to do. I panicked. I didn't want to like disrupt your class. So in front of probably 75 students, I had to tell everyone I was in the wrong class and just walked out and buried my head. So I tucked my tail between my legs and walked out of there as fast as I could.
Yeah.
You know what? I did the same thing. So it happened to me my first year. Same thing. I sat through the whole class because I wasn't going to get up and be embarrassed. So
I guess, you guys are bringing back some memories to myself, my own experience. I think some of the guys that I was in business with will remember this story, but there was one time I walked, I think it was the same kind of situation. I couldn't find, which room we were in for the lecture. And I came to class a little bit late, and it was a bit of I walked in the door, and the professor was already speaking. So I walked up the stairs trying to find a spot to sit, but I couldn't see a spot to sit anywhere in the entire classroom. And everyone was kind of looking at me like, what's this guy doing? So I walked to the top of the stairs. I continue on across the room to the other side of the lecture hall, and I can't find a spot. And at this point, I'm so embarrassed. I just walked right down the other set of stairs and out. And I can hear the guys on the team just kind of giggling to themselves and laughing. And that was pretty tough. I had to ask them for some study notes after the class.
Hey guys, this has been great catching up, and so glad to hear you guys are having a great, a lot of success in Italy this year, and certainly hope that things continue to improve around the globe and play, more hockey. And appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us, and it's nice talking to you guys too. It's good catching up.
Yeah, most definitely. It's been a pleasure.